In today's lecture, we'll talk about price level and inflation in US, and also we will learn how to access CPI data from US government website. So first let's start with the history of price level and inflation in US. So what this graph shows is price level in US, or CPI. So CPI is the measure of price level or aggregate price level in an economy. What we see here, starting from 1913 till today, we see a consistent rise in prices over time. So these gray boxes are recession bars. So let's look at some of the periods of inflation in US. So US inflation can be broken up into three broad phases. So inflation after World War I, inflation after World War II, and the 1970s. Those are the three phases. And you can see here, right after World War I, we saw an increase in prices. Right after World War II, we saw some increase in prices. And the inflation of the 1970s, a steady increase in prices in the 1970s, which is very well known because it was caused by something called the oil shock or oil embargo. When oil was not available easily, as a result, prices increased very fast. Now what I'm going to show you another thing is notable periods of US deflation. First was the period following the 1920-21 recession, which is this, and also during the Great Depression when prices decline. Mind you, when CPI decreases, prices do decline. Price level is one thing. What we would like interested in also the percentage change in price, which is called inflation rate. And here is the US inflation rate. So in 1916, when the data is available, the graph starts out with inflation at almost 8%. Jumps to about 17% in 1917, around this time, which was extremely high inflation. Dropped drastically to close to minus 11% around this time, which was also a recession year. Goes up and down periodically with peaks in the 1940s and the 1970s. So there was a sharp increase in prices in 1940s, and this is the increase in prices in the 1970s and early 1980s, which was caused by something called oil shock, a rapid increase in prices. And since then, since 1980s, you can see our price increase remained very reasonable, with more recent trends around under 2%. So in an ideal world, inflation rate should remain below 2%. Or let me write it down. So below 2% is the ideal inflation rate for US. However, right now, at the current situation, we are facing extremely slow increase in prices, which is also not good. We need to have a steady increase in prices. The price increase should not be too fast or should not be too slow. So around 2% inflation is what's desirable. Next, what I'm going to show how to access data on CPI and as a result inflation using BLS website. So US data on CPI is collected by Bureau of Labor Statistics under Department of Labor. So Bureau of Labor Statistics is an organization under the US Department of Labor, and it's their responsibilities to find data on prices. So we are going to see how to access data from that website. So I'm going to click here. So this is the BLS website. So we'll start with subjects, and the first thing you'll see in the subjects is inflation and prices. And we are interested in consumer price index. I'm going to click in consumer price index here, and it shows different information related to consumer price index. What I am interested in particularly is CPI data. So I'm going to click on CPI data, and then I'm going to click on databases. So it shows up here. Now there are different measures of CPI. What I'm interested in the all urban consumers current cities, which is our consumer price index CPI, and I'm going to click on one screen data search. So you see multiple windows. Now US data on CPI collected on a regional basis. You can see US city averages, class size class A cities, size class B or C cities, size class D cities. These sizes are based on the population. Typically, size class A cities has population of more than 100,000. Then it's divided into different geographic areas like Northeast with subdivisions, Midwest, South, West. So I'm not going to go into all those details. Let's take the US city average. Now second window you see select one or more items. Now here's the fun part. Remember we talked about basket of goods, and this is the basket of goods, and you can see how long this list is. So it has all sorts of information here. I'm going to take all items and I'm going to look at seasonally adjusted. Whenever the seasonally adjusted information is available, we should be using seasonally adjusted. I'm going to click here and I'll just get the data. So this is US CPI starting from 2008 January till June of 2018. So in January 2008, US CPI was 212.174. So what does it mean? 212. Now this number does not have any unit attached to it. So it does not have percentage, it does not have any kind of unit. So what it means compared to the base period, and the base period is 1980 to 84 equal to 100. $100 worth in 1982 to 84 is equivalent to having $212.174 in January of 2008 or $250.857 in June of 2018. So that's the interpretation of this. So we can do a lot of other things with this graphs, with this table. So let's look at how far we can have information on. We can go back and we'll look at 1947. We can also create a graph. So I'll just click here. Now you have CPI graph. So this is the CPI graph over time and also the actual data. Now obviously we are interested in inflation rate. So to get inflation rate from this side, you need to click more formatting options. I'm going to click here. Now if you remember, inflation rate is percentage change, and we calculate percentage change in inflation on a year-over-year basis, which means that June 2018 should be compared with June 2017 and not May of 2018. So inflation rate in June 2018 should be based on CPI in June 2018 and June 2017. So I'm going to put here 12-month change, and I'm going to click retrieve data. And what you see here, so first is our CPI, and then below is the inflation rate, and this is the inflation rate graph, and this is the actual inflation rates. Inflation rate, especially since 1980s, remained pretty much under control. That is around 2% mark, especially in last 10 years it remained more or less under 2%. So you can use this website for getting data on US price indices and data on inflation rate. So let's do a little bit more. Suppose you are interested in finding how the prices have changed for education, which is a huge concern, right? So I can go down here. So you click university averages. I can go down here and I can try to find education. and you can see education, and you are more perhaps interested in college tuition and fees. So let's click here. As I said, we'll always try to get seasonally adjusted. I add selection, and then I'll try to get the data, and let's see how far we can go. We can go up to 1978, and I'll try to include a graph, and here we go. And you can see how steadily tuition has gone up in the US, especially it has gone up at a faster rate since 2002. So this is the time period when it has gone up really fast, and you can find it by calculating percentage change, and that's what I'm going to do. Always do 12-month percentage change and retrieve data, and what you get is this huge increase in price of tuition, but it has kind of slowed down in recent years. Now, one of the reasons it slowed down because it's so high, a small increase in tuition shows up as a very small percentage change.